Hey there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Talking to Myself, the part of the day where I talk to myself about things that I was thinking the night before while laying in bed. Shout out, of course, to all 1,400 of you who are subscribed at the time of making this video. I truly do appreciate it. And in today's video, we're going to just cover a couple of things. First off, I want to explain something because I always have people that take weird, either random shots or they're on Instagram and they ask to break down certain things. Let me explain something. There is a reason why I don't sit at my computer and do a voiceover and tell you my shutter speed, my exposure, my ISO on images, and my aperture and everything. Here's the reason why. Because there is no guarantee that if you replicate the exact settings that I had, that your image is going to come out well. So why the hell would I tell you to do something when you're not in the exact environment that I was in? It makes no sense. I understand for people that want reference or starting points, but I feel like there are plenty of videos out there that do that. I'm not the guy to do that. I'm not the guy that's patient enough to teach that. And I'm not the guy who's going to pretend like I know everything and that I do everything 100% correct. I am sure the way I do certain things with lighting, the way I do certain things with my shutter speed, etc., are overkill. I'm very sure of that. But at the same time, it's what works for me. And you have to figure out what works for you. And for those of you that are wanting to be better photographers, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with seeing what people are doing and molding your work like that, or being inspired by something that you see. All of us are inspired. I'm inspired by cinema, and I'm inspired by sports photography, always have been, in documentary photography. And because of that, my work is geared towards that, and that's what I've shifted myself towards. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that I copy things one for one. So with that being said, I thought I'd give you guys, since again, I get annoyed with the questions of do a breakdown, show us how you got the shot, because that's not necessary. So if you want to be a better photographer, because that doesn't make you better, hearing how someone else did something the full way through, if it's not a behind the scenes and it's not like a tutorial like, hey, here's my full day as a wedding photographer, or hey, here's my full behind the scenes of how I'm setting up lights for Rembrandt lighting, etc. When it's just sitting down and looking at photos on a computer screen and me telling you what I used, or not even what I used, just what my settings were, that won't help you in your real life application because you don't have the exact same environment. So let me help you out with this. I'm going to give you a few things that are going to make you a better photographer, whether Fujifilm, Canon, Sony, etc., whatever. So to start off with, what's going to help you become a better photographer is you have to use your camera body. And what I mean by that, it may seem super simple, but you need to be bringing your camera everywhere. And I don't mean force yourself to take photos. You may bring your camera, but you don't have to pull it out to shoot. But there are moments where you're gonna see something where I wanna take a photo of this. I wanna take a photo of me, my family, my friends, some architecture, something on the street. It doesn't matter if your camera's big or small. Bringing your camera with you in a bag, around your neck, something is going to give you the opportunity to, number one, learn how your camera works better. Learn how, it handles high ISO. Learn how, you want to set your function buttons. Learn how to do all these things to where when you're in a situation where it's high pressure, you know what you need to do to get to a position. One thing that I've done that I recommend to anyone, that is street photography. If you want to get better at a glance of looking at a situation, thinking, okay, do I need to raise my shutter speed because people are moving quick? Do I need to stop down, switch my lenses? Do I need to XYZ, move back, move forward? Street photography is the best thing to just basically cut your teeth on in photography. It teaches you everything you need to learn, from the exposure triangle to how to manipulate shots and people with shutter speed. It teaches you about aperture and exactly the fact that you don't have to always shoot wide open. Honestly, street photography will not only make you a better photographer, street photography will just make you someone who is more appreciative of cameras, of glass, of just the art of photography than anything else. First thing that you want to do if you want to be a better photographer, regardless of anything anyone else says, it's not your damn lens, it's not your damn body, it's not the damn lighting setup. You know what it is? It's learning your camera, and that only happens by practice. Just like if you're in the NFL, if you're in the MLB, you have to practice every day. Just like if you're a ballet dancer, you have to practice every single day. You have to get the muscle memory. You have to learn the rhythms. You have to do that with your camera. You cannot just shoot once a week, once every couple of weeks, once a month, a big event and something like that, and think that you're going to get better at photography, you're going to grow, and that people are going to appreciate your images. eventually you're going to stumble over yourself because you're going to get hit with a situation you've never seen before. Street photography is what's really needed. That's the first thing. Taking your camera with you, just taking a camera in case you want to shoot is the first thing you need to do if you want to be a better photographer, period. The second thing that if you want to be a better photographer, no, we're still not on your lenses or your body. It's learn lighting. And listen, what I mean by that is this. If you're one of the people that's constantly asking, hey, what were your settings on this? Hey, what was your shutter speed? Hey, what was your ISO at? Hey, listen, none of that matters. Your ISO doesn't matter. Your shutters, let me rephrase that. Someone else's ISO doesn't matter. Their shutter speed doesn't matter. Their aperture doesn't matter in a photo they took. You want to know what matters when you look at it is if it's exposed correctly. Because that's honestly what you're asking. Hey, how did you get this exposure? Because everything else is done by presets, it's done by editing and Lightroom, etc., and Capture One. If it's not a blurred background, everything else you're looking at in lighting terms has to do with, number one, how people know exposure. Now, if someone tells you, I used a flash, I used a bounce card, I used XYZ, I used a whiteboard, that's different. But I see people all the time asking, tell us how you got the photo. Listen, if you see me taking a photo in natural light of a sport event, and I'm shooting a photo in natural light of someone outside during daytime, how do you think I got the photo? What do you think my settings were? It was probably something that was perfectly exposed, right? If I'm able to photograph a photo or someone swinging a bat or a player running full speed and them not be blurry, around what do you think my shutter speed is? You should be able to know this. You should know these things that around 500, that around a shutter speed of 500, you're able to begin freezing people in movement like jogging. At around 1,000, people at full sprints, people moving their hands, that you're able to freeze that. At around 2,000, you're able to freeze things such as automobiles, such as baseball, soccer ball, etc. You should know that. And so that's why you need to learn lighting. You need to learn exactly how these things affect each other. Because if I'm shooting at 2,000 of a second to get a picture, throwing a ball and getting the ball leaving his hand, then that means I'm probably gonna have to compensate with either my aperture or my ISO. And then from there, you can just figure it out. You have to learn lighting and how to manipulate lighting, and not just lighting as in flashes, as in this artificial light, natural light. You need to learn how to manipulate the lighting and how to take photos and show the expression of lighting, meaning using the shadows to your advantage, using highlights to your advantage whenever you don't have artificial lighting there. That is something that is going to take your photography to the next level. And I'm sorry, I don't have tutorials for it. I don't. But that's because I'm not that guy. Now, I'll give you little tidbits and information and stuff like that, but at the same time, there are so many avenues on YouTube. There's no excuse to say, well, if you're not going to show us, listen, I don't have to show you. There's a million people. There's a million people that you can learn lighting from. And that's the thing is, there's all these opportunities to learn it. You don't need the new lens. You don't need the new camera. If you're not good at lighting right now, and if you're still taking blurry photos because you don't knock down shutter speed, and if you're still shooting overexposed images, and I'm not talking about one, I'm talking about you're shooting a full day of overexposed images, your camera and your lens aren't gonna help you. And I'm not saying that to be critical. I'm saying that to help you get better. Okay, learn lighting. The first thing you do to be a better photographer is take your camera everywhere. You don't have to always use it. You don't have to feel pressured to use it, but have it with you because you never know. If there's a situation, you'll learn. Take that photo. The second thing is to get better at understanding lighting. And then that's whenever artificial lighting comes in. That's whenever flash comes in. Once you can start understanding the exposure triangle and what you have to adjust to get a certain shot and things like that, then at that point, and only at that point, will you start to excel in your photography a little bit more. And trust me, a little bit goes a long way when it comes to photography, because there's a lot of people out here who are doing the exact same thing, and I'm telling you, I see it all the time, and it's unfortunate where they're shooting overexposed shots and they want to know, well, how would you do it, because I don't get how I got this. No, I need to listen. I can tell you right now, listen to the exposure meter in your camera. Everyone has it. Listen to that, because that's going to tell you what looks good or not. Doesn't matter what your eye sees. Shoot so that the exposure meter, is where it needs to be. One of the last things I'm going to say that are going to help you become a better photographer, and again, unfortunately, it's not a camera, it's not a lens, it's not either one of those. To be honest with you, I'm curious about buying a 15 to 45 from Fujifilm or the 18 to 55 to show you guys that a kit lens will do more than enough. I want to do photo shoots with a kit lens. because I shot a whole portrait session, family portrait session at 5.6, and I think it looked damn good. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, you don't need a fast lens. You don't need a new camera with autofocus to get better at photography. That is not going to get you better. What you need to learn is weight and composition. And weight and composition, what that is, and I can put up examples of it, is you want your image to be balanced. And I actually, you know what? Kyle McDougall has a fantastic tutorial about this, and I'm glad I just remembered it. Kyle McDougall. Look up Kyle McDougall. He has tutorials about weight and composition because that's what photography is about. Listen, knowing when to put something in center, left, or right third, head space, whether it be colors and whether it be, you know, having your image, not everything be on the left and some things be on the right. Like, weight and composition are a big deal, because I'm telling you right now, you've seen it before. You've cropped someone's arm off and it looks off, or there's too much space to the right, or there's too much space above a person and it doesn't look natural. Weight and composition are going to take your photos next level. And I know a lot of you are going to say, I already know this. I already know about weight and composition. I already know about this. But listen, you can get better. There's natural framing inside of images. There's using weight as in color. There's using weight as in shadows, curves, and sharp angles, juxtaposed to things that are softer, or juxtaposed. Like, there are so many things that you can do that can take your photography to the next level. And I know you're thinking you're giving vague. You're giving all these random answers. Listen, this is stuff that I've seen that is enjoyable. I'm not even saying this is all my work. But you talk about the Henri Cartier-Bresson, the Pete Lindbergh, who I just barely learned about. Now I've been checking him out. All these people that were in Time magazine that I've been reading, you know, whether it be sports photographers, whatever. The biggest things about them is they know weight and composition. For sports photography, actually, I can show you a whole bunch of images of my sports photography. It is all about weight and composition with that, knowing where the weight of the player is even going. I'm talking about look off space. I'm talking about, you know, everything being centered, not having limbs or a bat or something, an extension of someone being cut off. That is a big deal, weight and composition. And a lot of people don't know it. Everyone's just putting their subject right in the center. And you know what? You know what comes with that is they're putting their subject right in the center. You're shooting 1.2, 1.4, 1.0, and that's it. That's all the creativity you need. Whenever your image could look so much more dynamic if you stop down and you had the beautiful background of whatever you're at in there, and you're able to use that as a weight in your composition of your photo. You know, me being 100% honest and objective, I just gotta say, it's a waste of time to ask people and to want to learn more about photography through someone telling you how they did it. You should want to be a better photographer and learn more about photography by figuring out yourself. And listen, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, I don't have anything to shoot, or I've shot everything in my hometown already. Matthias Berling says this all the time. It doesn't matter if you've shot it 100 times. Go shoot it again. Because you can always, with a different focal length, with a different camera body, with a different angle, create something new at what you've already seen. There's no excuse. I grew up in a small town of 30,000 people on a good year when the oil field was booming. I took photos of the same thing over and over again. Do you really think that held me back? Is taking photos of the same thing over and over again really going to kill? No, it's not. Take it during a different time of day. Take it with artificial lighting. Learn your own craft. Be better for you. That does not make you better to copy someone else's settings. It doesn't. It doesn't. Not even, you know, even whenever it comes to videography, people are like, "What'd you shoot that at?" It doesn't matter. Shoot it at the correct shutter speed. Shoot things at the correct frame rate, and shoot things at the correct exposure. What is so hard about that? What is so hard about learning, okay, you know what, if I'm shooting 24 frames per second, I want to be at either, 48 frames per second or 90, what is so hard about learning that? And then saying, you know what, I don't want to be overexposed and blow out my highlights. Or, I don't want to be overexposed and lose my shadows, even in log. What is so hard about that? It's not. It's really not. Hey, you know what? I kind of want to be at native ISO. Hey, you know what? I may not have enough light. I probably need to bring in artificial light. There is nothing hard about that. But we make it sound so damn ridiculous to go out and figure it out. We want people to tell us what to do. And I used to work with a guy, man, all the time. Is what he would do is he would literally watch a video on YouTube. He would hear everything the guy's saying, and he would exactly replicate that. And mind you, this is a YouTuber holding a gray card in front of amazing lighting. The guy's using multiple kinoflows, and if you guys are videographers, you know about kinoflows. So what does my guy do? He goes and he stands at lighting that is at a further distance, that is gelled harder, that is softer, that has a different radius and a different spread, that has a different backlighting and has a different, basically when you pull out a light meter, has a different luminance from where he's standing versus association with the camera. There's about 200 feet across. He's using the 100 to 400, and the guy was shooting everything else on like a Sony 35mm 1.4. And he wants to hold a grade card, and he expects to have the same images in log as this guy right here. And it makes no sense. You can't do that. That's not the way things work. You have to figure it out yourself. Go shoot, go figure it out, go test, spend the extra time. But be a photographer, be a videographer. Have fun with it, man. It goes back to this. Everyone wants the quick fix to things, and you stop having fun. This becomes like a job to you guys. Oh, I got to get the perfect settings. Oh, I got to get... No, bro, just go shoot. Go shoot. Go shoot images. If you want to really learn, man, did I screw up this shot or not? Shoot a whole day in JPEG. And notice how you can't get those shadows or those highlights back. Shoot a whole day in JPEG and check out where you can't adjust the sharpness too much, where you can't fix and save a shot. And you can't put a filter on that. You can't put a preset on that. So that's what you should do. And I'm being 100% sincere. This isn't being, condescending or anything like that. Shoot a whole day in JPEG. That's why Fujifilm's so good for a lot of people. You realize really quickly when you're shooting in JPEG plus RAW if you jacked up an image. Someone who shoots sports, and whenever you're on deadline for a wire, I'm shooting over JPEG, stuff like that. I realize real quick if I messed up my image. I'm trying to not cuss anymore for Dorian, so it is what it is. Figure it out, you guys. Like, I'm not telling you you're alone, because you're not. YouTube is a great resource, but you have to get out there and use your camera, and you have to get out there and do things yourself. At some point, you need to stop relying on people to tell you how they did it, because guess what? I'm not shit. And my images ain't shit. They're nothing that you guys can't recreate. So go out there and try to recreate them, but recreate them with your style, with your trial and error, so that you can be better. Okay? You don't need to be replicating me. Okay? I'm not the guy to replicate. Learn you and do you and be better by being you. It'll help you in the long run. Trust me. There's no better feeling than knowing, okay, I figured this out, and it's because you put in the work, not you had a cheat sheet to it. So that's it. Have a good one.